Hey everyone, Firegrass here, and today we're going to be assessing the profitability of Scythe logbooks. Scythe logbooks have been incredibly profitable ever since they were put into the game first in Expedition League. However, since they were put into the game, or rather since Expedition went core, they have changed quite a bit. Now, once upon a time, the way to run Scythe logbooks was to focus on the base loot that you could get from a logbook. So you would stack up various modifiers that would allow you to drop lots of Legion splinters, Simulacrum splinters, Scarabs, stuff like that. All that stuff got massively nerfed, however, and nowadays the main part of Expedition is pretty much just farming artifacts and then spending them at Tujin so that you can get a whole bunch of raw currency, and that's what today's video is going to be focused on, just how to do that as efficiently as possible. Before we get started, I'm going to talk very briefly about how the method with which we use to run logbooks has changed. So, because our reward structure has changed, it's no longer really worth taking the time to intricately plan out the perfect route. Instead, now, you just want to turn off your brain and watch your hot tub stream on your second monitor while getting all of the artifact and all of the currency nodes as fast as possible. As I often tell people, if you are doing Expedition and using your brain, you are doing it wrong. The more time you spend thinking, the more time you are spending losing. You just want to go as fast as possible. You want to get into the Expedition and get back out of it with a fully cleared Expedition in about 3 minutes. If you can do it under 3 minutes, you're making pretty good pace. You can pump out about 20 logbooks in an hour if you're going as fast as possible and you've pre-rolled your logbooks, but I think even aiming for above 15 is acceptable. What you don't want to do is start taking 10 minutes per logbook because you have to squeeze out just as much loot as you can from logbook. I have done the testing and I can confirm it is significantly less profit per hour if you plan these things out. Do not plan, it's just not worth it, please. I'm just going to do a very quick demonstration of exactly the kind of pace you want to go when you're doing these logbooks and how little planning you actually want to do. So this, unfortunately, is a Gwenin logbook. I ran out of all my Tujin ones, so just bear with me. I'm just going to show you how you would run a Tujin logbook, and we'll even time it just for the sake of it. So we'll start the timer, and we'll just get going, I guess. So pretty much the only things you want to look for are currency and the artifact ones, and you just want to kind of plan a path that you think is going to get you a decent amount of them. So this is honestly not even looking that good at the moment, but I mean, we should still get enough to sort of make it worth it. So there are a whole bunch up there. There are some down there. Okay, so this is one of those times where I'll undo one just to get some extra nodes in. And I think that was kind of worth it because we managed to get 2 more in. Now we'll just go up here, we'll go up here, across here, we'll grab that one. We'll grab some runic monsters with that. We'll grab just that on its own, this, and can we make it down here? Yeah, we can get that. Okay. So as you can see, we pretty much only missed out on these two. We're just kind of doing, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. Okay. So we'll start off by popping your Stalker Sentinel right at the start. Now, underground areas are a good place to get your blue one off, so you're just going to run in and pop your blue one. Even if your red's already active, that's totally fine. Because the thing is, it's going to get a full charge off of your blue, which is harder to do up the top because mob density is quite low. And then your red's just going to keep ticking. Reds typically have a large enough duration that it doesn't really matter if you pop it really early. So as you can see, we're just going to keep empowering mobs. So you just want to keep going, opening the chest, and then looting while killing. Now, the only real risk to you dying is pretty much trying to loot. So you have to be really careful when you're doing that, but that's fine. The mobs do get a little tanky when you empower them, but again, you know, like, that's fine. You know, just have a build that can kill them, and you're good to go. So I will go do my currency down here and down here. Okay, got some nice loot. Go down here. Okay, this is not going to have any mobs, so that's fine. We'll just get the loot. And now I know I'm looking to still get my last blue one off because the underground areas were not sufficient. My red one's still ticking. I'm gonna have to get a good blue one off here. Okay, well, we're not getting a good blue one, put it that way. Best we can do. I don't think it empowered very much, but that's how it goes, and that's why we don't use a good one. Okay, we're lagging really badly. Yeah, as you can see, the mob density is very low. So you're almost never going to get good value on your blue sentinels. Okay, so that was the whole logbook, and let's see. Under 3 minutes. And that was with me pausing briefly to explain things and stuff like that. That's pretty much what you can expect from a logbook. It's just you taking all of the nodes as fast as you can. You're only looking for currency and artifacts. You don't care about anything else. Anything else that's worth anything, you pick up while you're doing your other nodes, right? But you don't go out of your way to get this. Like Blight, Heist, Legion, everything like that. If it's already in the way, you can pick it up. Otherwise, you ignore it. Same with remnants. If there are remnants for increased quantity of items or artifacts or stuff like that, if it's in the way, fine, take it. Otherwise, completely skip it. This won't be a fully fledged expedition guide, mainly because that content already exists out there, and I want to focus on profitability and all of the data. If you do want to learn how to run expedition according to this strategy, you want to go watch Tripolar Bear's video from last league. Last league, I told Tripolar Bear everything I knew about expedition pretty much, then he went and did it for a day or two and made a video about it, so I can personally guarantee it's very good content. Everything in that video is completely relevant still to this day, with one exception, and that is how Sentinel affects expedition. Much to my surprise, Sentinels are just not that good in logbooks. Now, logbooks just don't have the density for your Pandemonium Sentinels to empower 100 enemies at a time. There is kind of a workaround to this, and that is using the Arbiter Unique Pandemonium Sentinel. Now, this is not the literal best Sentinel you can put in this slot. Obviously, Expedition rewards would be better, but Expedition rewards will have its value wasted when you're doing logbooks, so you're better off saving up your good blue Sentinels for when you decide to go back to maps, and when you're doing logbooks, just buy up a bunch of the Arbiters. They typically have around 20 charges, so you're going to be able to do 10 logbooks for every one of these that you buy, which means you're not going to be buying that many. You can also run any saved up currency or quantity ones. These are typically the ones that you're not actually going to run yourself because they're not the best reward types, but you're still saving them in case, and this is the in case. This is the rainy day that you can pull out those quant or currency ones out for. They'll only add around 10 to 20 C extra to your map, to your logbook, but that's okay because, as I said, you know, Sentinel is just not a big part of this strategy, but min-maxing it and trying to get the most out of it is still a pretty good idea. Now, this is the part of the video that a lot of you are probably watching for, and that's the profitability breakdown. Over the course of the last 2 leagues, I've run a lot of expedition, a lot of logbooks, and I have collated a lot of my data and come out with basically the conclusion that every time you run a 2-gen logbook, you get, on average, 7 artifacts worth of 2-gen windows. Now, these averages are skewed very heavily by how often you encounter Varana, so don't go running one logbook and then asking me why you only got to do, say, 5 windows when I promised you 7. 7 is the average. If you run, say, 100 logbooks, you get to then gamble 700 exotic coins. That's pretty much how it works out. And the profitability of each logbook is 94 Chaos Orbs on the current patch at the time of making this video. When you run a logbook and then spend those artifacts at 2-gen, factoring in the cost of the Blessed Orbs, the cost of the logbooks, the cost of the exotic coins, you come out with 94 Chaos Orbs worth of profit. Now, I've also timed myself doing pretty much all of the activities that fall under logbooks. So, running the logbook itself, rolling the logbook, I've factored in all the downtime that comes between running the logbooks and then haggling with 2-gen and all of the downtime that is involved with depositing items into your stash. And I've come out with roughly 5.5 minutes per logbook. So you run a logbook, you then get 7 2-gen windows, and you do that. And when you're all said and done, this should comprise about 5.5 minutes. Now, I can actually get it to less than 5 minutes, but I'm saying 5.5 minutes because this is probably what I expect a lot of my viewers to get. A lot of you guys probably haven't done literally thousands of logbooks, so you're probably not at the point where this stuff is second nature to you, and you're probably taking a lot longer to haggle with 2-gen. I have some old videos if you want to see how to haggle with 2-gen, because all of the stuff is pretty much the same. When it comes to haggling with 2-gen, you should be aiming at doing 5 windows a minute, roughly. If you can't get it under 5 windows per minute, you really need to practice, and I wouldn't recommend getting it under 5 windows per minute by just skipping out on items. You just need to get better at clicking, and you need to get better at haggling, and getting better at haggling pretty much means just moving the slider down far enough that you're probably getting some kind of discount, but also not too far that 2-gen is going to reject your offer. If 2-gen ever rejects your offer, you are wasting time because you don't really care about saving those extra few artifacts. You just want to move on to the next item. Another thing to keep in mind is you can pretty much never run out of lesser artifacts. So when you have a very large stockpile of lesser artifacts compared to greater artifacts, you can just buy all of the lesser items without haggling. There's literally no point in haggling since it's impossible to run out. After running your logbook and after haggling with Tujin, when all is said and done, this strategy comes out to around 6 exalts per hour. So that is, I have to stress, factoring in both activities. We're not only looking at one or the other. I see a lot of Tujin breakdowns on Reddit, and even by some other content creators, that tell you that just haggling at Tujin is worth, say, 10 exalts per hour. And that's fine, but you need to invest all of that time beforehand running the logbooks, which certainly isn't being done at 10 exalts per hour. So this 6 exalts per hour is the amount of exalts you're going to make per hour if you run all of your logbooks and then spend all of your artifact currency at Tujin. For those wondering how I got my numbers, I basically just took data from 25 Scythe logbooks. I have run hundreds, if not thousands, of these logbooks in the past, so I already know that these numbers kind of match up with what you could expect if you run, say 10 or 100 times as many logbooks to get your data. I'm not going to do that because I wanted to actually provide a very specific breakdown of all of the items, so if you open up this spreadsheet, which is going to be in the description below, you're going to be able to see even an excellence breakdown in order of all of the items that I was picking up and how we ended up at the amount of money that we ended up. So this is the tab that came from the Scythe logbooks themselves, and then this is the tab that came from haggling at Tujin, and this was just 25 logbooks. Finally, I've included a set of instructions in the spreadsheet that I'm providing, and those instructions come with layout and modifier tier lists. Now this is pretty important because these have changed since Expedition League itself. The layouts in particular are very different. So once upon a time, stuff like Cemetery would have been considered S tier almost. You had Shipwreck Reef, which was considered S tier, but nowadays those are much lower tiers because we aren't valuing the base rewards that come with the layouts anymore. We're valuing how nice the layouts are in terms of just getting around and getting to all of the artifact chests. The S tier layouts are layouts that are very simple, they don't have a lot of obstructions, and they're pretty compact, that you can, without any of the modifiers that improve your explosive placement, you can get to all of the rewards that you want typically in the S tier layouts. The A tier layouts do have more obstructions or are a little larger and thus more widely spread out, so you sometimes have to ignore part of the map in order to, focus on the parts of the maps or the parts of the logbook that you think have all the loot. B tier, Cemetery, Forest Ruins, and Exile Outskirts, they just have they have bad layouts. You can't get to all of the things you want very efficiently, and you're going to miss out on a larger amount of rewards in a typical run. And then there's F tier. F tier is just terrible because you lose like half the map a lot of the time. They're just terrible, and you should really not run them unless you absolutely have to. It doesn't matter how good the mods are in these ones, you should skip them and go with any other layout if you have the option. Now, you don't always have the option because you can only pick the Scythe faction, so keep that in mind. If the only Scythe faction you have on your logbook is a Sun Slums, guess what? You're running Sun Slums, and you're going to hate your life for the next 5 minutes because that layout is absolute dog shit. Before we wrap up, I just want to talk about Tujin real quick. Now, I've provided some basic instructions for you in the spreadsheet, which I highly recommend you give a look at yourself. But I'm not going to tell you what kind of values exactly that you want to be buying certain currencies at. I did that last time, and I guess a lot of people didn't find the need for it because what I have found is that you are able to work out whether a deal is good or not just by practicing. So once you start to do Tujin, after a while, you're going to get a very good feel for whether Tujin's trying to scam you or whether he's giving you a good deal on something. So if you're not sure, just engage with the content and you will pick it up naturally without anyone having to tell you what to do. Tomorrow I'm going to be releasing a very fun video that I think a lot of you guys are going to enjoy watching, so stay tuned for that, and if you like this video, give me a like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you guys tomorrow.